Joining us live now from Kiev, Ukraine, is Sviatoslav Yurash. He's Ukraine's youngest member of parliament, joining me live from the Ukrainian capital. Yurash, thank you very much for being with us, speaking to us once again here on India Today. It's day 10 of the military operations in Ukraine at this point of time. We've just seen images of airstrikes happening in the city of Irpin, not very far from Kyiv. There are air operations that have been captured on camera in the city of Chernihiv, north of Kyiv as well. That military convoy, the images of which have continued to come in, Yurash, over the last few hours as well. Can you tell us what your... Okay, we'll come back to Yurash in just a moment. But I quickly want to recap for our viewers what the situation currently is in Kyiv. Over 10 days, the Russian forces have not been inside Kyiv, but they have been either approaching it from the ground or attacking it using cruise missiles. Today, for the first time, there were images of air power visible on camera of Sukhoi 25 jets conducting airstrikes just 25 kilometers from Kyiv itself. Those images have gone viral, and the first visible evidence of air power being used so deep inside Ukrainian airspace. It's a reason why Ukraine has been crying out for days now for an air defense umbrella sponsored by the NATO alliance. NATO has said, we're not getting into it, which makes people in Ukraine feel a sense of betrayal. On day 10 of Russia's attacks on several cities of Ukraine, strong words from the West, promises of arms, economic sanctions to stop Russia, but nothing else. Because Ukraine has been saying, don't just do that. We need you to step into this fight or else we are doomed. And that's why there's a sense of betrayal. Take a look. Come. Nearly 2 weeks into Putin's invasion of Ukraine, a sense of betrayal has set in among leaders and the people of this besieged country. A sense of betrayal that the West and the NATO have hung this country out to dry. Until now, it's only been strong words from the West, the promise of arms and sanctions to squeeze Russia. But beyond that, nothing else when it's perhaps needed the most. And that has raised huge questions. Is Ukraine paying a price for placing too much trust in the West?
Our forces are not and will not be engaged in the conflict with Russia in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight in Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies and reassure those allies in the East.
Ukraine was sold dreams of a place in NATO and membership in the European Union. Both appear a long way off at this time. In the meantime, Russia has invaded using these two issues as the immediate provocation. And I want to go straight across now to Sviatoslav Yurash. He is Ukraine's youngest member of parliament. He joins us live from Kyiv. He's on the streets, as you can see. Yurash, good to see you. Hope you're safe. Many images, Yurash, from, places outside of Kyiv, like Irpin, of airstrikes taking place. We've seen images of, a Russian helicopter apparently being shot down in the city of Chernihiv. There appears to be some kind of an escalation. What is your sense of what's happening, especially for Kyiv, Yurash?
I'm not in Kyiv right now. I'm near Irpin, actually,
okay.
One of the small towns near Irpin. I've been coming here for the last few days. The point is that the Russians have been repulsed as far as Kyiv itself is concerned, but as far as them trying to cut off our supply lines, they've been very busy, and we've been very busy bringing them back. Basically, in this town near Kyiv, we are pushing them back and forming new groups of territorial defense to try and push them back. There's no shortage of volunteers. Every Ukrainian now who's staying, he wants to partake in the fighting and organizing. One of my teammates, you can see behind me, is organizing some of that. Actually, we work in the parliament together. As you might hear the shelling happening. Basically, as far as getting all the forces we can get to try and win this fight. And again, we will not let them siege Kyiv, we will not let them surround Kyiv, and we are pushing them back in every direction that we can. We are counterattacking their forces.
Yurash, where is that military convoy? You know, the Russian MOD issued pictures today of that military convoy, which had stopped about 25 kilometers from Kyiv. Where is it right now? What's going on with them?
It's to the north of Kiev. They basically went through the Chernobyl exclusion zone while taking hostage the Chernobyl nuclear power station in the process, taking hostage all of Europe with an idea they can try and do something at Chernobyl. They can disrupt something again in Chernobyl and cause another accident, another tragedy for Europe. And the point here is that that's why they were not as molested there, because Chernobyl is an exclusion zone at the moment in which not many people live and are. So the point is, as far as the convoy, it's stuck in the north of Kiev. They tried to make incursions in the town, and we pushed them back every single time. We'll push them back again, no matter how many times they try. This is our capital. It's our city.
If I could ask you about the airstrikes that are taking place, you know, Irpin, which if I'm not mistaken, is about 25, 30 kilometers from Kyiv, part of the Kyiv Oblast. There are claims that some of these aircraft have been shot down as well, Yurash, but these are airstrikes that are taking place in the middle of cities. And, you know, I don't know, maybe these are the first pictures that have come out capturing that bombing actually taking place.
I was in Irpin yesterday. There's plenty of fighting. Airstrikes are basically an everyday occurrence all over Ukraine. Again, that's why Ukraine repeats its demand to close off the sky for the Russians. Russians are using those planes to hit civilian targets, pedestrian districts. Reality is this is a battle that is raging all over Ukraine, and Russians are using their air power advantage to push at the civilians like no time since the Second World War. Again, this is invasion of our country, unlike the Second World War, not seen since Second World War. So the point here is that the advantage they have in the sky is too much, and we must work to repulse them there.
Are you getting the feeling that the NATO has in some ways left Ukraine out to dry? You know, as far as an air defense umbrella is concerned, you know, many persons we've spoken to have said that there is a sense of betrayal, that even with all of this, NATO has refused to come in directly and provide that kind of air support.
We appreciate everything we get already. We are appreciative of all the support we're getting, with the fact that Russia is cut off from national forums that doesn't belong in because it destroyed every single rule that exists in the international community. But as far as the airstrikes, as far as joining in to repulse this arrogant invader, there's a saying that this is the Second World War, but America does the right thing after exhausting every other option. Same thing applies to NATO right now. I'm sure as more images come in of dead children, destroyed women, destroyed Ukrainian life, they will reconsider their situation.
Okay, so it is...
Unfortunately.
Okay. One final question to you, Yurash, because I know you're outside. This incident that's taken place in Chernihiv, north of Kyiv, of a Russian aircraft that was reportedly shot down. It's a claim being made by the government. There is an image of that aircraft actually falling out of the sky. Apparently, the co-pilot was killed, but the pilot has been captured alive.
And we have shot down many of the aircraft in Ukraine. We don't have too big of an air force, but it's been very effective in trying to push at them and trying to destroy their capabilities. As far as the aircraft in general, we are making quite a show. Again, we have a lot of destroyed planes, Russian planes already. And as far as their POWs, prisoners of war, we have plenty. In Chernihiv, there is no accident, there's no incident. There's a siege of Chernihiv happening because they're basically surrounding the city, from what I understand, and they are trying to push in, and Chernihiv is fighting back with everything it has, and we shall come to relieve it the first chance we get.
What are you making of this temporary ceasefire that's been announced by the Russian government in Mariupol and Volnovakha towns in the eastern part of the country?
1 second.
Yurash? Okay, that connection has gone with Yurash. He's out there on the street, so he's with his colleagues, and obviously it's a dynamic situation. We'll connect with him in just a moment, but the pictures you see on your screen right now are of the latest flare-up. It's the latest. Okay, Yurash is still with us, so let's go back to him. I was asking you about the Russian limited ceasefire that was announced for, in the eastern part of the country for 2 towns. Is that in effect? Are you hearing it's in effect? Is there a civilian corridor that's active there?
We just have updates on that. No, it's not. When it started to move, the Russians immediately struck those towns, and there was shelling exactly in the places where humanitarian convoys should have followed to the west of the country. The Russians aren't following any of their promises, any of their agreements, anything they said. So the point here is that, again, the Russians were not to be trusted, are not to be trusted, and will not be trusted.
Okay, Sviatoslav Yurash, appreciate you joining us here on India Today, giving us your voice. Stay safe. You're still outside. We heard shelling happening behind you as well. We will keep connecting with you. Thank you. Thank you very much for being with us here on India Today. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to try and get in an update from NATO as well in a short while from now, because NATO has been making very vague voices, but for the first time they have said we are not going to get into this in any direct manner. They've indicated it, but now in response to repeated requests from the Ukrainian government saying that the only thing that can save us is if NATO puts up an air defense shield around Ukraine, making it a protected no-fly zone, a military protected no-fly zone. Only then can Russian air power be dissuaded from affecting the next phase of this invasion. It's already on day 10. Things have escalated. You just heard a member of parliament, Yurash, tell us that things are bad in places like Chernihiv, which is north of Ukraine. These are north of Kiev, I beg your pardon. These images coming in from Irpin, just 25 kilometers west of the country's capital. So the encircling of Ukraine's capital is becoming tighter. The news is getting tighter and tighter around the city. Will it finally become a real situation where the city becomes totally cut off and totally besieged? Will that be some kind of a red line?